Hey, fourth graders, it's Mrs. Seals back for our next science lab. And actually, this is going to be our last science lab until we get back from the winter break. So, we are going to be talking about weather today. Um, Oops, let's go back to the beginning. We're going to be talking about weather today, just a little bit. We won't like officially be on our unit on weather until I think January or February. So, but we're just going to do a little intro today. So, your target says I can record changes in weather. So, hopefully, you remember that weather is the condition of the atmosphere in a place for a short period of time. So, um, remember that the earth is surrounded by layers of gases and clouds, and this is what is called our atmosphere. And everything and all the changes that are going on up there are what affect our weather down here on earth. That determines whether it's sunny or cloudy or hot or cold or rainy or windy or any of those things. And it says short period of time because remember, weather can change very quickly. It can change day to day or hour to hour or even minute by minute. We know here where we live, the weather's always changing. Like recently in the mornings when we've been coming to school, it's been very, very cold. One morning last week, there was even a little bit of ice on my car that I had to kind of scrape off before I could drive my car to school. We've been wearing sweaters and jackets and all of that. But then in the afternoon, by the time we leave school, it's a very nice day. It's gotten warmer, the sun is shining, and you could play outside with a light jacket on or something like that. So weather's always changing. In other words, weather means what it's like outside. So there are lots of different parts or components that make up the weather. Weather isn't just if it's hot or cold. That's just one part of weather. When you listen to a weather report, they're going to talk about lots of different things that make up the weather all together. So let's talk about some of those. The first one is cloud cover, and there are several different ways we can describe cloud cover. Sometimes we look at the sky and it's completely covered in clouds. It's a really gray day, and we describe that by saying it's cloudy, or we use this word overcast. That means the whole sky is covered in clouds. Sometimes we use this term and say it's partly cloudy. That's when part of the sky has clouds, part of the sky you can see the sun shining. And then sometimes the sky is sunny and clear and we have no clouds and it's a very nice day. That's my favorite type of weather. So knowing the cloud cover is important because this kind of determines, activities that you can do and things. Like it's probably more enjoyable to go to the pool or the beach or the water park on a sunny day as opposed to a cloudy day. But also you need to know if it's going to be very sunny. So you know if you need to put on sunblock or sunscreen to help protect your skin from the sun, or maybe wear a hat or sunglasses. Things that you might not need to do if it were more of an overcast or cloudy day. Another part of the weather is temperature, which means how hot or cold it is. When you listen to a weather report, they're going to say, it's 72 degrees or it's 48 degrees. That is describing the outside air temperature. You can use a thermometer to measure it, or you could just use words like warm, cool, hot, and cold. And knowing the temperature is important because it helps us decide what to wear that day. Like I was saying earlier, when I got up for work this morning or for school this morning and I was trying to figure out what to wear, I was listening to the news and the weatherman said that it was only 33 degrees and that's cold. So I decided to wear this sweater and I even brought a jacket to help keep me warm on this cold day. Another part of weather is wind, which is air that is moving. Sometimes the air is moving very, very fast, and we say that's a windy day. Other times the wind is not moving quite as much, but just a little bit. We would say that's a breezy day. And then other times there's no wind at all, and we would say that's a calm day. Knowing the knowing how strong the wind is can help us decide um, things like what types of activities to do. Because, like I was saying, you wouldn't want to fly a kite on a super windy day like this because it would be hard to control it. It could break easily, it could fly out of your hand. So, we like more of a breezy day with just a little bit of wind for that. Same thing with like playing golf. You wouldn't want to play golf on a super windy day. Um, Probably wouldn't be fun to go to the beach on a super windy day because you'd have sand blowing all around. So, knowing these things can help us decide what types of activities to participate in. And then the last part of weather that we're going to discuss is this word precipitation, which is a big word, but hopefully you remember it because you have learned about it in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade as well. Precipitation is just water or ice that falls from the sky, and it can fall in four main forms. We have snow, rain, sleet, and hail. So high up in the atmosphere, the clouds are made up of tiny drops of water. They're not made up of cotton candy or cotton balls like a lot of people think. They're made up of water. And what happens is when the cloud gets so big and full and heavy and full of water drops that it cannot hold them up anymore, that's when we get rain and it falls down to the ground. Normally, the most common type of precipitation we get is rain. However, if it's very, very cold up in the atmosphere, the water can freeze and then we can get this type of precipitation, which is sleet. Sleet starts out as ice up in the clouds, and then as it's falling down to earth, it passes through some warm air, which causes it to melt and turn back into a raindrop. But then, before it hits the ground, it passes through cold air again and refreezes. So sleet is ice that has melted and then refrozen all on its journey down to earth. So if you touch sleet, it almost feels kind of like a slushy or an icy. It's going to have ice in it, but it's not going to be a solid chunk of ice. Okay. Um, we get sleet, sometimes in Texas, not often, but usually maybe once or twice per winter, we'll get a little bit of sleet. It usually doesn't stick because it doesn't stay cold enough here for it to stay frozen. Sometimes in the winter we can get snow. We don't get that much here. It doesn't usually get cold enough. Again, maybe once a year or every few years we'll get a little bit of snow. And the last form of precipitation is hail. And these are these little balls of ice. These are called hailstones. And even though these are frozen, hail doesn't typically happen in the winter. Hail typically happens in the late spring or summer when it's warmer, because for hail to form, you need lots of wind and warm air. What happens when hail forms, and you'll oftentimes see or have hail around the same time as like a really, really bad thunderstorm or maybe even tornadoes. Sorry, my back itches. And what happens is hail starts out as a raindrop in the clouds. And then as it's falling down to earth, a big gust of wind comes, because remember I told you it has to be windy for hail to form, and it pushes the hailstone back up into the atmosphere where it's very, very cold and a layer of ice forms around it. And that's your hailstone. And then it starts to fall down again. And if it's windy enough, we can have another gust of wind push it back up and have another layer of ice form around it. So the more times this happens, the more layers of ice your hailstone will get and the bigger it will get. Around here, typically we only have what we call pea-sized hail or like nickel size, not too big. Still not anything you would want to be outside during, because if it hits you in the head, it could really hurt you. It can damage your car and your house. Sometimes hail can get as big as a grapefruit or a softball. I saw on the internet that one place even had basketball size hail before. So it can get really, really big. And again, this is something you would want to know about before you plan any outdoor activities. If there's a chance of hail happening, you probably wouldn't want to be outside because that's not safe. And then all of these things like the snow, the sleet, that would help us plan what to wear. You definitely wouldn't want to be wearing, shorts and sandals or flip-flops if it were going to snow. If you knew it was going to rain, you would want to bring an umbrella and a rain jacket and maybe wear your rain boots to help keep yourself dry and warm and safe. So knowing the weather is very important too. Planning our activities and our clothing and things like that. So the kids that are in class, what they're going to do is they're going to create, or they're going to complete a page about today's weather, write about it, draw about it, explain how it helps them make choices about what to wear and what to do. And then we are going to do something that is kind of a science lab tradition. If you've been in science lab in previous years, you might remember this. The last week of science lab before the holiday break, we always make insta-snow, fake snow that you get to make and take with you. If you are at home, unfortunately, you won't be able to do this unless you are able to get some insta-snow. This particular kind, I've only ever seen it on Amazon, but I know there are similar things like this at Target, Walmart, the dollar store. I heard Five Below has it. To me, this is the best brand because it gets the biggest and fluffiest. It looks the most like real snow. And it doesn't have, some of the other ones have kind of like a really strong, kind of chemically, plasticky smell. This one doesn't have that. So this is the kind I prefer, but anything like this works the same way. This is not real snow, like we talked about. Snow is ice, or frozen water. And this is a white powder. It's actually little bitty tiny pieces of plastic. And what happens is when they are mixed with water, they absorb and soak in the water, and it makes them very big and fluffy, and it expands and it looks like real snow. Okay, so I'm going to make this and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. If you get this kind, it comes with this little scoop, so it shows you exactly how much you need. Just get one scoop of it. And then you're going to add about 2 ounces of water, which in these cups is about to this line right here. And you don't even have to stir. Watch as I add the water. You're going to see it expand. Do you see that? How it looks like it's growing? It's absorbing all the water and getting big and fluffy. Whoa. I'm going to take my spoon. I'm not going to stir it a lot. I'm just going to give it a couple little fluffs and stirs to make it nice and fluffy. And there you go. And then if you touch it and feel it, it even feels like real snow. It's very, it's wet because we added water to it. It's very soft and fluffy. It's not, cold because it's not frozen. So a couple things about this. Number one, if you do this, make sure you don't eat this. It's not food, it's plastic. Plastic is not good for us to put into our bodies. If you have baby brothers or sisters or pets at home, please make sure you keep this away from them so that they don't eat it and get sick. This is not meant to last forever. After a couple days or weeks of playing with it, it's going to dry out. That's when it's time to just throw it away. But it's okay because, like I said, this is a science lab tradition. So next year, hopefully, you'll get to make it when you are in 5th grade. So yeah, there's our instant snow. So I hope that you guys had fun learning about weather and seeing the instant snow. I hope that you have a great holiday break, and I will see you in January. Bye, guys.